help us hit our first 1,000 subscribers. Your support drives us to create even more wonderful stories. Thanks for being part of our journey. In this video, he thought the anniversary trip would save their marriage, but the hotel room held a secret so twisted, it would destroy everything he believed about his wife and himself. This is not just a story about betrayal. This is a story about a truth hidden behind room 407. And once the door opened, there was no way back. Daniel had always believed that anniversaries should mean something, not just dinner or flowers, but a memory, something unforgettable. So, for their 7th year of marriage, he booked a surprise weekend at the Seabreeze Grand, a 5-star hotel on the coast where they had honeymooned. Lila smiled when he revealed the plan, but it wasn't the kind of smile that reached her eyes. It was polite, practiced, like a smile you give to a stranger who offers help you didn't ask for. Daniel brushed it off. They'd been distant lately. Long silences over breakfast, soft sighs before bed. Maybe she was just tired, or maybe she was unsure how to reconnect after months of drifting apart. He told himself the hotel would fix everything. New place, no distractions, just them like it used to be. But beneath that hope, a flicker of doubt lingered. Had they already gone too far? As they pulled up to the elegant glass facade of the hotel, Daniel squeezed Lila's hand. She hesitated, then returned the squeeze, her touch light, almost reluctant. He didn't want to admit it, but something felt off. Inside, the receptionist greeted them with a warm smile. But when Daniel gave their name, her expression faltered for just a second. She looked down at her screen, paused, then handed them a single room key. "Room 407, she said, forcing another smile. "Our finest suite." Daniel noticed the slight hesitation in her voice, but again, he dismissed it. This was a celebration. He wouldn't ruin it with paranoia. As they rode the elevator, Lila leaned against the wall, staring at the floor numbers blink past. She didn't speak. She didn't look at him. And when the doors opened on the 4th floor, she walked ahead quickly, like she already knew exactly where to go. Daniel followed, keycard in hand. He tried to believe this was just a fresh start, but as he slid the card into the door of room 407, a cold shiver ran down his spine. He didn't know it yet, but once that door opened, nothing in their lives would ever be the same again. And that's just the beginning. What is Lila hiding behind that polite smile? What secrets live inside room 407? Keep watching the next part of this video, because what Daniel discovers next will change everything. Coming up next, in the following chapter. The moment Daniel stepped into the suite, something felt wrong. The lights were dimmed, but not in a romantic way. More like someone had left in a hurry and forgot to switch them off properly. The air smelled faintly of cologne. Not his, and definitely not Lila's perfume. He paused by the door, his suitcase still in hand. Lila walked straight in without hesitation, heading to the window, drawing back the curtains like she'd done it before. She didn't notice him stop, or maybe she did, and chose not to say anything. Daniel tried to shake it off. Maybe it was just the housekeeper's scent, or some leftover from the last guests, but deep down, something twisted in his gut. He placed their bags by the bed and noticed the sheets were a little wrinkled, not in a messy way, but like someone had just been sitting there. He glanced at Lila. She stood by the balcony, arms crossed, staring at the sea, her reflection faintly visible in the glass. "I'm gonna shower," she said without turning around. Her voice was flat, detached. "Sure," Daniel replied, trying to sound casual, but his eyes followed her as she walked into the bathroom, closing the door behind her. Not locking it, but not leaving it ajar either. That door felt symbolic, like a line drawn, left alone. Daniel wandered the room, pretending to admire the decor. His fingers traced the edge of the dresser, then paused when they touched something. A receipt. It was folded once and tucked halfway under a glass. His curiosity took over. He unfolded it. It was a room service order, 2 glasses of champagne. Yesterday's date. His stomach dropped. They hadn't checked in yet yesterday, so who was drinking here? And why did Lila act like this was all normal? The bathroom door opened, steam curling out as Lila walked back in. Wrapped in a towel, She looked at him like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't just taken a shower in a room that didn't quite feel like theirs. Daniel tucked the receipt into his pocket, pretending to check his phone. He didn't confront her, not yet, but now, every glance, every word, every silence felt loaded. As they sat on the bed that night, watching TV they weren't really watching, Daniel's mind was racing. Was it possible he was imagining it all? Or had he just stumbled into something he wasn't supposed to find? He turned his head slightly, watching Lila out of the corner of his eye. She was scrolling her phone, smirking at something, and for just a second, she typed fast and deleted the message even faster. He didn't ask, not yet, but he didn't sleep that night either. Something is definitely off. The scent, the champagne, the receipt. Was Lila here with someone else before Daniel arrived? Dante, stop now. What happens in the next chapter will raise even more questions than answers. Keep watching. Coming up next, in the following chapter. The morning sun spilled through the curtains, casting a warm glow on the hotel room. Daniel watched Lila sleep beside him, her face peaceful, as if the night before had never happened. But he couldn't forget the receipt or the way she typed and deleted that message like it was second nature. They went down to breakfast in silence, both pretending things were fine. The hotel's buffet was lively, with guests laughing, music playing low, and clinking cutlery filling the air. But for Daniel, every sound felt distant, muffled by the noise in his own mind. While Lila went to grab coffee, Daniel stayed at the table. That's when he noticed a tall man walking past. Sharp suit, confident stride, and a look that lingered on Lila just a second too long. It wasn't casual. It wasn't nothing. Lila saw him too. She flinched, just a tiny twitch in her shoulder. But Daniel caught it. The man nodded. She didn't smile back. She looked away too quickly, focused way too hard on her cup. Daniel's heartbeat kicked up. He forced himself to stay calm. When she returned to the table, he asked, "Do you know that guy?" Lila blinked. "Who?" "The one in the gray suit." She glanced over her shoulder, then shrugged. Never seen him before. Too fast, too smooth. She didn't even ask why Daniel noticed him. That wasn't like her. After breakfast, she excused herself to make a quick call from the room. Daniel said he'd meet her later, but instead of going for a walk like he claimed, he circled back to the reception. There, he asked a question that felt insane, and yet perfectly sane now. "Excuse me," he said to the clerk. "Was my wife here yesterday, before we checked in?" The young man looked up, a little surprised, then hesitated. "I'm sorry, sir. I'm not allowed to share guest information." Daniel leaned in. "It's important. Just, was she here?" The clerk's lips pressed into a tight line. Then, quietly, he said, "She was seen checking into the spa, alone." Daniel's thoughts raced. Spa. That's what she'd said last week. That she'd be too tired for the trip because of work, so she lied. Back in the room, Daniel said nothing, not yet, but a different silence sat between them now. When she turned her back to unpack, Daniel noticed a small golden keycard sticking out of the side pocket of her tote. Not theirs. It had the number 314 handwritten on it. Their room was 507. The moment she left to go for a quick swim, Daniel followed the number. Room 314 was on a lower floor, far from theirs. He paused in front of the door, took a breath, then he knocked. The door didn't open, but someone inside shifted. He could hear it, the sound of soft footsteps, then silence. Then, the peephole darkened. Someone was watching him back. He turned and walked away, but not before whispering, "I know." Who's behind the door of room 314? What was Lila doing here before Daniel arrived? You've got to hear what happens next. It's about to get even darker. Stay with me in the next chapter. Daniel didn't sleep that night. He lay next to Lila, staring at the ceiling, his thoughts louder than the air conditioner humming above them. She had returned from her swim like nothing had happened, smiling, hair still damp, asking if he wanted to watch a movie. He couldn't ask her. Not yet. Not when he didn't have all the answers. At 3:17 a.m., when she finally fell into deep sleep, Daniel slipped out of bed, took the elevator down, and stood once more in front of room 314. This time, he wasn't going to knock. He slid the keycard from her tote, the one she didn't know he'd taken, Into the slot, the green light blinked. The door clicked open. The room was dark, but he could see enough. It was clearly used. Rumpled sheets, half-finished champagne, 2 glasses, an open suitcase. A suitcase that wasn't Lila's. And on the dresser, a tie. Daniel stepped closer. The initials JH were embroidered into the fabric. He took a photo. His hands were shaking, but not from fear, from fury. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. A text from Lila. "Where are you?" He stared at the message, then slowly backed out of the room, making sure to lock it behind him. He needed a name. He needed to find JH. Back in his room, Lila was sitting up, her face lit by the screen of her phone. "You went for a walk?" she asked. Daniel nodded. "Couldn't he sleep?" She smiled. "You should have woken me." He smiled back, but it didn't reach his eyes. The next morning, Daniel pretended everything was normal. He told Lila he wanted to surprise her with a spa day, that he booked a massage for her while he'd go to the gym. She looked delighted. He watched her walk off toward the spa wing, then went straight to reception. "Do you have a guest registered under the initials JH-?" he asked. The receptionist frowned. "I'm sorry, sir. We can't disclose. It's important." Daniel cut in. "He might be staying in room 314. The receptionist hesitated. Then, quietly, "Room 314 is registered under Jason Hargrove." Daniel's blood ran cold. Jason Hargrove, Lila's ex-boss, the one she said was toxic, the one she never wanted to see again, the one who had been fired from their firm for inappropriate behavior. Daniel walked away from the desk in a daze. Lila had lied, not just about the spa, about everything, but why Jason? What was she doing going back to him? Or worse, had she never stopped seeing him? What happened next changed everything. "You think you know where this is going? Trust me. You don't. Get ready." The mask starts slipping, and in the next part, someone's going to crack. Don't go anywhere. Coming up in the next chapter. Daniel couldn't stop staring at his phone. He was still in the lobby, Jason Hargrove's name echoing in his brain like a fire alarm that wouldn't shut off. Everything Lila had said about him was coming back in flashes. The dramatic stories, the way she swore she'd blocked his number, the disgust in her voice, and yet here they were. Same hotel, same room. The man she never wanted to see again was staying 1 floor above them, sipping champagne in a bed Daniel had just photographed. His fingers trembled as he opened her messages. He didn't expect to find anything. Lila was careful, but one notification caught his eye. It wasn't from her main chat list. It was in the recently deleted folder of her photo gallery. Daniel restored the image. It was a mirror selfie, taken just 2 days ago. Lila was in a hotel bathroom wearing the same swimsuit she brought on this trip. And the caption said, "Wish you were in this tub with me again tonight." The text bubble beneath it, sent to Jason Hargrove. Daniel's mouth went dry. His ears buzzed like static. He wasn't supposed to see that. She hadn't meant for it to survive. The rage hit like a punch to the ribs. But beneath it, deeper, was heartbreak. She had lied to him with such ease. He locked the screen, took a deep breath, and walked back to their room. Lila was still gone. Getting that spa treatment. Daniel didn't believe a second of it anymore. And now, he had to know just how far this went. He connected his phone to her iPad. It synced instantly. Messages, emails, everything. What he found next wasn't a smoking gun. It was a wildfire. Weeks of messages. Late night, miss you. Texts, photos, plans. Even a note that said, "Let's just tell him after the trip. I want to see how I feel being with him one last time." Daniel dropped the iPad. He was shaking, not from confusion, not from betrayal, from clarity. Lila didn't just cheat. She was testing her feelings on him as if he were a safety net, a backup plan, and that realization snapped something inside him. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He simply stood up and started planning his next move, because now he didn't want revenge. He wanted justice, and he knew exactly how to get it. This story just took a deadly turn. You've seen betrayal. Now get ready for exposure. Everything Lila thought she had under control is about to unravel. Don't miss the next chapter. It's the one she never wanted you to hear. Coming up next. Daniel didn't confront her that evening. He didn't mention the texts, didn't bring up the photo, didn't even blink when she walked through the hotel room door with wet hair and that fake spa smile. Instead, he kissed her forehead like nothing had changed, told her he'd planned a surprise for the next morning. Breakfast in the lounge, followed by a little adventure. Lila's eyes lit up. She had no clue that adventure would involve a confrontation she'd never forget. That night, while she slept soundly beside him, Daniel was wide awake. His mind raced through every detail of the plan. He had already contacted the front desk earlier and slipped the concierge a $100 tip. All he needed was to find out Jason Hargrove's room number. The concierge didn't hesitate. Room 1407. Daniel didn't plan to knock. He didn't want a fistfight. He wanted evidence. Undeniable, unshakable proof. That's when the idea hit. In the morning, while Lila was showering, Daniel borrowed her hotel keycard. Then he made his way to Jason's room before breakfast. He wasn't sure what he'd find. Maybe the room would be empty. Maybe Jason had already left. But when he slipped inside, the air still thick with the scent of her perfume, he knew a scarf, Lila's scarf, folded neatly on the dresser. And then the bathroom door creaked open. Jason stood there shirtless, rubbing his eyes. The two men locked eyes. Jason froze. Daniel didn't say a word. He just took a photo. One single shot, the scarf, the man, the timestamp on his phone. Then he turned around and walked out. Back in his room, Lila was doing her makeup, humming like everything was perfect. She didn't notice he was trembling. Not from fear, from what came next. He airdropped the photo to her iPad, waited for her to see it appear. And when her smile faded, when the color drained from her face, that's when Daniel finally said it. You lied about blocking him. You lied about everything. Lila's lips parted, but no words came out. Daniel didn't yell. He just whispered, let's see how much he still wants you. After everyone sees this. And that's when he pulled up his Instagram story and uploaded the photo with the caption. This is what betrayal looks like. Don't trust the woman who says she's just going to the spa dash. He dropped the iPad on the bed. Lila's hands were shaking now, but Daniel, he had never felt calmer. And just when you think it's over, there's a twist coming no one, not even Daniel, could have seen coming. Stay tuned for what happens next. Things are about to spiral out of control. Coming up in the next chapter. Lila stared at the screen like it was on fire. Her hands trembled as she reached for the iPad. But Daniel had already turned away, calmly pouring himself a glass of water. Why would you do that? She whispered, barely audible. Her voice cracked, and for the first time, she looked genuinely scared. Daniel didn't raise his voice. He just said, you humiliated me behind my back. Now I gave you the same gift. She paced the room in silence, breathing heavily. Then, out of nowhere, she blurted out, it wasn't what it looked like. Daniel laughed. Your scarf in his room, him walking out in a towel. What was it, Lila? A book club? But she wasn't finished. He told me he loved me, she said. And I didn't know how to tell you, because I was afraid you'd do exactly this. That line hit Daniel like a punch to the chest. Not just the betrayal, but the reality that she had emotionally moved on. Still, nothing could have prepared him for what came next. There was a knock at the door. Not urgent, just steady. Lila's face went pale. She didn't move. Daniel opened the door. And standing there was Jason. He wasn't surprised, not ashamed. He looked straight at Daniel and said, we need to talk. All three of us. Lila sat down on the bed, frozen. Jason stepped inside without waiting for permission. He looked at Daniel, then at her, then finally said, there's something you both need to hear. Daniel was ready for an argument. He wasn't ready for what Jason said next. I lied to both of you, Jason began. I told her I was single. I told you I didn't know she was married. The truth is, I've been seeing someone else too. Silence. Lila blinked. You, what? Jason nodded. And last night, my girlfriend followed me here. She saw Lila leave my room. Daniel narrowed his eyes. Why are you telling us this? Jason took out his phone, opened his camera roll, and showed them a photo. It was of Lila and Jason, kissing, taken from the hallway, clearly by someone hiding in the shadows. Jason's voice dropped. She's going public. She has my name, your name, Lila's name, everything. She's threatening to ruin all of us. Daniel stared at the screen, then at Jason, then back at Lila. His whole plan for revenge, suddenly meaningless, because this wasn't just a personal betrayal anymore. It was about to become a public disaster. And just when it seemed like it couldn't get worse, Jason added, "And the worst part? She sent it to your boss this morning." Daniel's blood ran cold. His job, his reputation, everything he thought he still had under control, now hanging by a thread. Lila covered her face, whispering, "Oh my God," over and over. But Daniel, he stood still, jaw clenched, heart pounding, because this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of something much, much darker. And if you thought the betrayal was over, wait till you hear what happens next. You won't believe what Jason is hiding from both of them. Coming up in the next chapter. Jason's words hung in the air like thick smoke, choking the silence that followed. Daniel took a step back, eyes locked on the photo still glowing on Jason's phone. It was real. There was no denying it. And now his boss had it. Lila stood frozen. But it wasn't guilt or shock anymore. It was something Daniel hadn't seen in her before. Fear, mixed with calculation. "I need to call my lawyer," she said suddenly, voice trembling. Jason raised an eyebrow. "Lawyer? What for?" Lila looked between them. "You think this is just some scandal? Some tabloid drama? I'm about to lose everything if that photo goes public." Jason scoffed. "You're not the only one with something to lose." But Daniel wasn't even listening. His thoughts were racing back to earlier that week, to a call from his boss, Nathan, who had casually asked if everything was okay at home. Back then, Daniel thought nothing of it. Now, it felt like the calm before a storm he never saw coming. Suddenly, Jason sat down on the chair by the window and leaned forward. "There's something else," he said. His tone dropped. "Serious. This woman, the one who took the photo, she's not just some girlfriend, she's a private investigator." Lila blinked. "What are you talking about?" Jason nodded. "She wasn't dating me. She was following me, hired by someone to dig into my life. And when she found you," he looked at Lila, "she hit the jackpot." Daniel's fists clenched. "Who hired her?" Jason exhaled slowly. "I think it was your company, or someone at your company." Daniel's head spun. Why would his own company send someone after Jason? Jason answered the unspoken question. "Because I'm suing them for breach of contract millions. And they know I've been staying in this hotel, negotiating with competitors. They needed leverage. And now, thanks to her, they've got you, your wife, and me all in one perfect trap." Lila looked at Daniel, her eyes pleading now. "We were pawns," she said. "I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know." Daniel felt the walls closing in. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was blackmail, corporate warfare, emotional implosion. Everything collapsing at once. And then Jason added one final, bone-chilling sentence. She said, "She's willing to destroy all three of us, unless one of us gives her what she wants." Silence. Lila's lip trembled. Daniel looked out the window, heart pounding in his ears. "What does she want?" he asked. Jason stared straight at him. "She wants one of us to turn on the others publicly, within 48 hours. Daniel stepped forward, his voice low and cold. "And if none of us do?" Jason leaned back in the chair, staring up at the ceiling. "She releases everything. The photos, the names, the full story, and none of us walk away clean." And that's when the real tension began. Because suddenly, trust wasn't just broken between husband and wife. It was shattered between all three of them. And someone in that room was already thinking about cutting a deal. You won't believe who makes the first move, and what secret they about to reveal next. Stay tuned, because what comes next will flip the entire story on its head. Coming up in the next chapter. The room was silent, but tension snapped like static in the air. Daniel leaned against the window, staring into the dark skyline, unable to shake the feeling that something had already shifted between them. Jason's revelation wasn't just a warning. It was a countdown. 48 hours. One of them had to betray the others, or they'd all go down. And deep down, Daniel knew someone had already made their choice. Lila sat curled on the couch, legs tucked in, arms crossed tightly across her chest. Her face was pale, but not broken. Not like someone who was defeated, more like someone calculating, watching, waiting. Jason was pacing now, back and forth in front of the minibar, running his hand through his hair. "I can't go down for this," he muttered. "My deal with LexCorp is on the line. If this explodes, they'll walk." Daniel turned sharply. "Oh, so your deal is more important than the fact you slept with my wife." Jason didn't flinch. "You think this is still about her?" he asked coldly. "This is about survival now, for all of us." That was the moment it happened. A soft knock on the door. All three froze. Daniel was the first to move. He opened the door slowly, and a small envelope lay on the ground. No sender, no stamp, just his name. Daniel, he picked it up. Heart pounding. Inside was a single photo, the same image from Jason's phone, printed on glossy paper, and a note. "You have 24 hours left. Your wife has already made her decision." Daniel's stomach dropped. He looked at Lila. Her expression was blank, unreadable, too unreadable. "You did this," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "You're working with her." Lila stood slowly. "You don't know what you're talking about." But something in her voice cracked. Not from guilt, from pressure. Jason stepped forward. "She cut a deal, didn't she?" Lila didn't deny it, and that silence confirmed everything. Daniel stared at her. The woman he married. The one he trusted for 7 years. And now she had sold him out to protect herself. "I didn't tell her anything," Lila said quickly. "I just promised I'd cooperate if she left me out of it. I thought I could protect us both." Jason laughed bitterly. "No, you protected yourself." Daniel's hands were shaking now. Everything felt like a blur. Not only had Lila betrayed him emotionally, she turned him into leverage in a corporate takedown, but then Lila said something that changed everything. She didn't just want dirt on you too. She was after someone else. Someone none of us saw coming. Jason froze. Daniel frowned. "Who?" Lila looked down. "Your boss? Nathan." "What?" "She told me Nathan S. been laundering money through a shell hotel company. The same hotel we're in now. And she's been using us to trace the financial trail." Daniel staggered back. "So this was never about us?" Lila nodded. "You were the bait. I was the pressure point. Jason was the link, and Nathan is the target. The betrayal, the affair, the blackmail. It was all part of something much bigger." Jason sat down slowly, shock washing over his face. "She used us all." Daniel looked at Lila. "And you just handed her everything she needed." Lila's voice cracked again. "She promised she'd keep your name out of it, but only if I cooperated. I didn't know what else to do." Daniel clenched his jaw. "Then we're out of time." What happens next will flip the entire story on its head. Because in the final chapter, someone's about to disappear. And it's not who you expect. Coming up next. The clock read 11:58 p.m. Daniel stood in front of the hotel elevator, staring at his own reflection in the chrome doors. His mind racing. He had less than 2 minutes before the files were automatically uploaded to the press. Files that would expose Nathan, implicate Jason, and destroy Lila, unless he stopped it. Behind him, Lila approached cautiously. "Daniel, please." She whispered, "I did what I had to do. I never wanted to hurt you." He didn't turn around. "You already did." Jason's voice echoed from down the hall. "She's lying again." He stepped into view, a pistol in his hand. Not aimed, but visible. Daniel stepped between them. "No more threats, no more games. This ends now." Lila's voice cracked. "You don't understand. If this gets out, they'll kill me. Nathan doesn't just launder money. He launders people." A silence fell. Jason's eyes widened. "What are you saying?" "I mean, they don't just cover transactions, they erase people," she said. "I saw what happened to his last assistant. She vanished. No trace." Suddenly, the elevator dinged. The doors opened slowly, and inside stood Nathan, alive, calm. holding a single red umbrella and wearing a quiet smirk. "Funny," he said, stepping out. "I was just about to call the three of you." Jason froze. Lila stumbled back. Daniel didn't move. Nathan approached slowly, calmly, as if he were walking into a meeting. "Not a storm. I've known about your little rebellion for days," he said. "Lila's been feeding me updates. Just enough to keep her alive." Daniel spun around to Lila. "What?" But Lila couldn't meet his eyes. "She told me you were losing control." Nathan continued. "She begged me not to hurt you, but she sold you out anyway." Jason stepped forward, gun still in hand. "Then this ends here." Nathan raised an eyebrow. "Does it?" Before anyone could react, the lights flickered. Once, twice, and then cut out. Total darkness. A scream. A gunshot. Silence. When the emergency lights flickered back on, the hallway was empty. All three, Daniel, Jason, Lila, were gone. No blood, no bodies. Just the red umbrella lying in the center of the hallway. Hotel staff swarmed the floor minutes later. Cameras had been wiped. No digital trace remained of the confrontation. Only one strange anomaly. The files Daniel had scheduled to upload were never sent. Instead, a blank file was uploaded with one sentence typed in bold. "Some stories don't get told. Some people just disappear." And to this day, no one has seen them again. But here asks the real question. Did someone survive and erase the truth? Or did they all become part of a cover-up much bigger than any of them knew? What do you think really happened that night? Let us know in the comments. And if you want the truth, you'll want to watch our next story, because this one was only the beginning